Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse, McFarlane Collector's Edition, Green Lantern, Alan Scott. This is the original Green Lantern. He was introduced, I think, in the early 40s. Most people are familiar with Hal Jordan, maybe John Stewart, but Alan Scott is the OG of the Green Lanterns. This guy is part of McFarlane's subline, the Collector's Edition. They cost a little more. These guys run about $30, where the regular figures are $20. And I don't really see why they cost so much. The only thing really extra is the display stand for the collector's card, and other figures come with it that cost $25. And I don't even care about the display stand for the collector's card. Still, it's cool to get some of these very old school classic figures. But $30, I know McFarlane has addressed some of the complaints, and they said they're going to be offering better value in Wave 2. But we'll see. And the truth is, maybe that'll be Wave 3. Wave 2 may already be produced. Anyway, getting a little off track here. I ordered my figure from the McFarlane Toy Store, and he arrived today. They're also in stock at Big Bad Toy Store. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus, McFarlane Collector's Edition, DC Multiverse, Green Lantern, Alan Scott. Here he is in the package. We have his lantern here. He's got a construct effect. He's got a collector's card, a display stand for the collector's card, and I see a display stand for the figure in the back. Figure looks pretty good. Looks like it's the majority of the same figure from the Dark Knight's Metal Dread Lantern. One side of the package, McFarlane Collector's Edition, Green Lantern, Alan Scott, Day of Vengeance, the second figure in the subline. Other side, Green Lantern, Alan Scott. At the bottom, a bunch of credits, and there is his barcode, in case that helps anybody. And on the back side, here he is. It looks like maybe this is from Alex Ross Justice. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And I did get the entire wave at the McFarlane Toy Store. Ordered the bundle to save a few bucks. Now each and every one of these figures has a Platinum Chase variant. Superman, Alan Scott, and Abyss. I was hoping at least one of these would be a Platinum Chase variant, and they were not. If anyone out there happens to get a Platinum Chase variant and is willing to part with it, sell it, trade it, or anything, I'd be extremely interested. Drop me a line in the comments below. I believe I have secured someone already contacted me about the Platinum Alan Scott, and that is awesome. But I'm really looking hard to find the Superman and Abyss. They both look fantastic. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out. He comes with a display stand, a collector's card, a display stand for the collector's card, a construct to go over his fist, and then his lantern, power battery. But before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Alan Scott. He is the original Green Lantern from 1940. A lot of people think of Hal Jordan, John Stewart, but this is the original. He first appeared in All American Comics number 16 and eventually spawned Green Lantern comics. Now, the figure itself is very nice. The details are excellent. The sculpt, articulation, it's all great. The only sort of thing that bothers me as an error on this guy is Alan Scott is left-handed, and he always wore his power ring on the left hand. I'm sure you can find some comics over the years where he's had it on his right hand, but this is really just an oversight on McFarlane's part. It's one of his character traits. He always has his ring on the left hand. Now, the Dark Knight's Metal version, he should have his ring on the right hand, so he's sort of the opposite and evil version of Alan Scott, but should not be that way on this one. Like I said, I'm getting a little nitpicky here. It doesn't really bother me too much, but it's definitely a thing. So let's take a look. Start with his face here. It looks very good. The domino mask, if it's even the right term for that, is a little bit different. It's purple. It has a signature look where it's sort of cut going downward at the top. His hair looks fantastic as well. He's got the giant collar with his signature look. Green on the inside, purple on the outside of his cape. Big giant clamps sort of holding the cape in place. The lantern logo on his chest. It all looks pretty spot on. The double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. I noticed the sculpting is a little bit different from the Dark Knight's Metal version, but we'll check that out later in the video. He's got, I don't know, sort of shin armor or something like that. As a whole, it's a good looking figure. Classic, original, Golden Age version of Green Lantern, and they made him pretty much the way he should look. It's pretty accurate for the most part. And then one little detail I remember about Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, is he's vulnerable to wood. Like his Green Lantern powers have no control over wood, or he can't affect wood. I don't know, it's just one of his weaknesses. Just a little small detail there. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. Now let's check out his accessories. Let's start off with the boring stuff. Here's his display stand. We've seen it a million times before. It's a black perfect circle. It's very thin, very basic. Only difference here, this one has DC and silver paint at the bottom. Now for his collector's card. We have the collector's card and a display stand to put it inside of. Now, this image here, it sure looks to me like it's from Alex Ross's Justice McFarlane Collector's Edition. I'm getting some mixed feelings on this figure. It sure looks like it's from the first appearance of Alan Scott in 1940. But then we have the collector's card in the back of the package, which has Alex Ross Justice art. And then, on the back side, it mentions it's from Day of Vengeance, which is a more recent comic story. I don't know. Like I said, getting mixed signals here, but I'm pretty sure it sure looks to me like it's from the Golden Age version of Alan Scott. Here's his collector's card, put into the display stand. Now, I'm not big into display stands or collector's cards, but I'm sure some people will display it like this on your shelf. Now for his power ring, lantern, battery charger. When a lantern's power ring gets low, they usually have a lantern here that they'll put their ring up to, charge it up. This is made of a semi-transparent green plastic. Sculpt looks to be unique. They've made a couple of these before. This does not look familiar to me. There's a little handle at the top here. Not a bad accessory for your guys. Although, one complaint I'll give you is they've done this in a semi-transparent plastic, implying that his lantern battery is a construct. It is not a construct. It should not be in semi-transparent plastic. It should just sit there as a solid item for him to recharge his ring with. Here are all the different lantern batteries that McFarlane has given us. I notice they're all made in semi-transparent plastic, except for the silver one, which came with the Black Lantern Deathstorm. Here's Alan Scott, recharging his power ring and his lantern battery. Now for his power ring construct. It's sort of a ball of green energy that's going to go on top of his hand or fist. Now we have received things like this before for other Green Lantern figures. It's cast in a semi-transparent green plastic. You can see his fist will go inside of there. Kind of like a super punch, I guess. And like I said, McFarlane has given us several of these different constructs or lantern energy around their fists. But this one is a completely new sculpt, which surprised me. You can attach this effect to his hand. You can imagine he's sitting here, he's going to punch somebody, then this energy goes all around it, giving him a super punch or protecting his hand. He could also sort of be in a flight pose, his hand sort of in front of him. Now I wanted to check out what are the differences between this Alan Scott Golden Age and then the Dark Knight's Metal Dread Lantern version. And I'm going to assume they made the regular one first, McFarlane sculpted it, and of course they're going to release the oddball variant first. Because let's not kid ourselves, most people don't want the Dark Knight's Metal Alan Scott Dread Lantern, but they want the regular Alan Scott as a Green Lantern. So McFarlane releases the wacky variant first to try to get whatever sales they can out of it before releasing the definitive collector's version. In addition to these two, there's also the Platinum Chase version, which I'm really looking forward to getting. But in the meantime, these two figures. So for the most part, it is the same, but there are some differences. Obviously, the head is the same sculpt, but they added the sort of fire in the eyes with this guy. Going further down, looks like the cape is exactly the same, painted different, green on the inside on the original version. Torso, arms are the same. The forearms have this armor on top, not on this guy. The spikes, it's all gone, thank God. Diaper area, legs, all the same. Even the shin armor is the same, just painted differently. So, two very similar figures, but also very different at the same time. Now they've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories. Now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, staying at about 7.2 inches tall, which can translate to just over 18 centimeters. Now for his articulation, starting with his head here. Of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can look up and down about that much. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes about 90 degrees. Up, down, around. He's got this butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest, increasing the range of motion and covering the large gap that would be there. bicep cut below that, double jointed elbows, his wrists can rotate, and it's going to be hinged. His torso, he's got a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one is waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, giving him a very wide range of motion in his torso area. They're both very well done. Legs, complete as a splits, not a ball joint, McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is non-existent. They go forward, about that far, back, not much. Double jointed knees, below that. And then his ankle, forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and of course, to articulation. Here's Alan Scott, the Green Lantern, flying through the skies, holding his lantern battery. Now let's check him out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some of the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the Dark Knight's Metal Alan Scott Dread Lantern. A lot of similarities, and a couple of differences. I will have a third variation of Alan Scott whenever I get the Platinum Chase variant. 3 different versions. Went from 0 to 3 in a matter of a month or so. Pretty cool. This Golden Age one is fantastic. And here he is with the rest of the collector's wave of McFarlane figures. This is the first wave. Hopefully they do better with wave 2. First appearance Superman, Golden Age Alan Scott, and then Abyss. Now each of these figures has a Platinum Chase variant, and I believe I've secured an Alan Scott. If anyone out there happens to get a Platinum Superman or Abyss and is willing to part with it, drop me a line below. I'm sure we can work something out. Now let's check him out. Next is some other McFarlane Lantern figures. Here he is, next to Hal Jordan, arguably the main Green Lantern in all of DC Comics. You could have some really cool team-ups between Alan Scott and Hal Jordan, multiversal events. I'm sure they've done that time and time again in the comics. Then, next to John Stewart, probably the second most popular Green Lantern out there. He's another one assigned to Earth. And here he is, next to Kyle Rayner. He is another Earth Green Lantern, and is probably still more popular than Alan Scott. Here are all the main Earth Green Lanterns McFarlane has made. Hal Jordan, Alan Scott, Kyle Rayner, and John Stewart. Guy Gardner is the most noticeable omission. We really need to get a classic Guy Gardner Green Lantern. Don't get me wrong, I want Simon Paz, Jessica Cruz, as far as the humans go, but Guy Gardner is the main one missing. And then I also want Kilowog and Sinestro and Abensur, all those different versions. But Guy Gardner is the next logical one. Here's Alan Scott, next to Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker is essentially an evil Batman and Green Lantern hybrid from the Dark Knight's Metal. Here are all the different Green Lantern figures McFarlane has made so far. There's a couple more upcoming or that I don't have. The Platinum Chase variant of the Alan Scott, and then there's an Amazon exclusive glow-in-the-dark John Stewart. And frankly, I'm not really sure what's beyond that. And here he is, next to all of McFarlane's Black Lantern figures. We have 2 different versions of Batman, Superman, and then the Black Lantern version of Firestorm, Deathstorm. Then, next to McFarlane's Red Lanterns, Atrocitus and Batrocidus. And now, with McFarlane's Blue Lanterns, Kyle Rayner. Here's Alan, next to McFarlane's Yellow Lantern. They've only done Batman so far, but I'm sure eventually we'll get a Yellow Lantern Corps Sinestro. And just because, here he is with even more Yellow Lanterns, by both Mattel, McFarlane, and NECA. Here's Alan Scott, Golden Age Green Lantern, next to Jay Garrick version of the Flash, the old school version of the Flash, both members of the Justice Society of America. Hope they round out that team. Now let's check him out. Next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is with the rest of the Collector's Edition Wave 1. Hoping to get the Platinum Chase variants of each of these figures soon. Now what other figures could they make Golden Age Collector's Edition versions of? Well, Batman and Wonder Woman come to mind. They could probably do an older version of the Flash as well. And honestly, the possibilities are endless. And here he is, next to the Batman and Spawn 2-pack. Then, next to some San Diego Comic-Con exclusive gold-labeled Dark Knight Trilogy figures, we have Joker as Bank Robber Thug, Bane with his coat, and then Joker as seen through the sonar vision. And now, next to some more San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figures, we have the 85th Anniversary Superman, the 30th Anniversary Nightfall Batman, Dark Knight's Metal Alan Scott Dread Lantern, and the Page Puncher Sketch Mr. Freeze. Here's Alan Scott, next to the Blue Beetle movie figures. We have regular Blue Beetle, Carapace, and then Battle Mode Blue Beetle. Then, next is some recent McFarlane Toy Store exclusive gold label figures. We have Superman in his Unchained Armor, the Patina variant, Catman, Dick Grayson Robin, and Kyle Rayner Blue Lantern. Next, let's check him out with some recent Target exclusive gold label figures. Here he is, next to the Superman vs. Doomsday 2-pack. And here he is, next to some Target exclusive Jokerized stuff. Then, next to some more Target exclusive figures, we have the Ted Kord Blue Beetle, Sinestro Corps Batman, Flash War Impulse, and Deadman. And now, with the Target exclusive Flashpoint wave, we have the Flashpoint Aquaman, Project Superman, and Flash. Here's the Green Lantern, next to the Injustice 2 3-pack, Batman, Supergirl, and Dr. Fate. And here he is, next to some recent Walmart exclusive gold label figures. We have the Vampire, Joker, Batman and Superman, Captain Atom, Beast Boy, and Eradicator. Then, next to the Goofy Head Sculpt Rebirth Superman vs. Ultraman 2-pack. And now, next to the recent Batman wave, we have the Nightfall Batman, Batman Incorporated Batwing, and Batman Reborn Two-Faces Batman. Here's Alan Scott, next to the Big Bad Toy Store exclusive Black and White Accent Flash and Superman. And here he is, next to the 5th wave of Page Punchers. This is a Batman-themed wave, fighting the Frozen. We have Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and Mr. Freeze. There is a Platinum Chase variant of Batgirl out there, and I'm trying to hunt one of her. And finally, next to the most recent Build-A-Figure wave, this is the Titans wave, Collective Build Beast Boy. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next is more McFarlane Toys. These are from different various video game properties. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures. Here's Alan Scott, next to an ear of corn on the cob. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here he is, standing with some NECA figures. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, with some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collected figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here he is, with some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this Alan Scott is a fantastic action figure. I hope they do more of these Golden Age and classic characters sprinkled in among their modern releases. I also hope they do more of the Justice Society of America team. This guy's sculpt and paint job are excellent, no issues there. His articulation is everything you'd expect from a modern McFarlane DC Multiverse figure. His accessories, they're good. They could be more plentiful, especially for a premium priced figure. Still, if I were to rate this guy, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. He looks great. Exactly how he should look. The only sort of problem, the ring's on the wrong hand. And if you look hard enough, there are panels where he's wearing his right hand, but typically he wears his ring on his left hand. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.